Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the biggest obstacle in your life isn't failure or bad luck, it's the way you react to them, and worse, you've been doing it wrong. This whole time, most people spend their lives waiting for motivation, waiting for the right time, waiting for things to go perfectly. But what if the secret isn't waiting at all? What if the key to success, peace, and strength isn't about what happens to you, but how you act before it even happens? Today, we're diving into an ancient principle that warriors, monks, and legends have used for centuries. It's not about luck. It's not about hoping. It's about acting as if everything always works out for you, even when it doesn't. The illusion of control and why it tricks you. You think you're in control? Think again. The moment you assume you figured life out, that your plans are foolproof, that your efforts guarantee results. Life has a way of humbling you. A job you counted on vanishes, a relationship you trusted fractures, a goal you worked toward for years collapses overnight. And what's the first thing you feel? Betrayal, anger, confusion. This wasn't supposed to happen. But here's the truth: you've been avoiding. Control was never the goal, it was always an illusion. Think of a leaf floating down a river. Does the leaf decide where the river takes it? No, but it can decide how it moves within the current, whether it fights the water or flows with it. That's the difference between control and response. Control is clinging to the riverbank, screaming at the water to change direction. Response is adjusting your sails, so no matter where the river goes, you're never overturned. Most people spend their lives tying their actions to outcomes. If I work hard, I should succeed. If I'm kind, people should be kind back. But life doesn't operate on should, it operates on is. The universe doesn't owe you fairness. It doesn't owe you rewards for good behavior. It simply, and the sooner you stop expecting it to bend to your will, the sooner you'll see the real power you've had all along, the power to choose how you meet whatever comes. Let me ask you this: when a storm hits, do you blame the wind or do you adjust your stance so you don't fall? The wind doesn't care about your opinion. It blows whether you're ready or not. The only thing that matters is your footing. This is where most people fail. They panic when things go wrong because they tie their worth, their identity, even their future to a specific result. If this job falls through, I'm a failure. If this person leaves, I'm unlovable. But what if you stripped all that away? What if you acted not for the outcome, but for the principle? What if you worked hard, not because it should pay off, but because hard work is who you are? What if you were kind, not because others should reciprocate, but because kindness is your nature? That's the first shift. Stop acting based on what you think will happen. Start acting based on who you are. Imagine two people planting a tree. One obsesses over the fruit. Much it'll grow, how sweet it'll taste. How many people will admire it? The other focuses only on the planting, the feel of the soil, the angle of the roots, the consistency of the water. Which one enjoys the process? Which one is devastated if the fruit never comes life? It's the same when you fixate on results. You hand over your peace to things you can't command. But when you focus on action, on doing what's right, regardless of results, you take back your power. You're no longer a prisoner of hope. You're a warrior of intent. This isn't about giving up on goals. It's about detaching your value from them. It's the difference between saying, I need this to happen so I can be happy, and saying, I'll do my best and whatever happens, I'll meet it with strength. One leaves you desperate, the other leaves you unshaken. So, how do you start? First, notice where you're clinging. Where are you insisting this must happen? A promotion, a person's approval, a specific future. Write it down then. Ask, if this never happens, who I? If the answer is I'm nothing. That's the illusion talking. Your worth isn't in outcomes, it's in your ability to stand firm, no matter what the outcome is. Second, practice neutrality. When something bad happens, pause. Don't label it, don't react, just observe. This happened. Now what? Train yourself to see events as neither good nor bad. Just facts. A rejection isn't a judgment, it's right direction. A failure isn't an ending, it's information. The less you judge, the less life can shake you. Act as if you're already who you want to be, not for the rewards, but because it's your truth. If you want to be courageous, act now, not when fear disappears. If you want to be disciplined, act now, not when motivation arrives. Action isn't the result of transformation, it's the cause. The leaf doesn't control the rift, but it can choose to float with grace. That's the real master. There are warriors' mindset. Pretend until it's real. There's a reason why. In ancient traditions, warriors didn't wait for battle to become fearless. They trained in the darkest hours, in the coldest conditions, with the most brutal challenges, long before any real threat appeared. They didn't hope to be ready. When the time came, they made sure they were ready by acting as if war had already begun. This is where most people misunderstand confidence. They think it comes after success, after the promotion, after the recognition, after the victory. But that's backward. Confidence isn't the reward for winning. It's the fuel that gets you there, and the only way to build it is to act as if you already have it. Think about walking into a room where you feel out of place, your shoulders tighten, your voice gets quieter. You second guesses every word. Why? Because you've already decided, I don't belong here. But what if you walked in like you owned the space, not arrogantly, but with quiet certainty, as if it were natural for you to be there? Something shifts. People respond differently. Opportunities open, not because the world changed, but because you did. This isn't about faking it till you make it. That implies deception, like you're wearing a mask, waiting for the real you to catch up. No, this is deeper. This is acting it until you become it. The mask isn't hiding you, it's shaping you every time you stand tall, when you feel small, every time you speak clearly, when you want to hesitate, every time you make a decision with conviction, even when you're unsure. You're not pretending you're practicing, and practice doesn't just prepare you for the moment, it rewires you for it. The body doesn't know the difference between an act and the real thing. Smile, even when you don't feel like it, and your brain starts releasing chemicals that ease stress. Stand in a powerful posture for 2 minutes and your testosterone rises, your cortisol drop. You don't think your way into confidence, you move your way into it. This is why warriors train the body first, the mind follows. So how do you apply this? Start with the smallest moments. When you wake up, don't drag yourself out of bed like you're defeated before the day begins. Stand up straight, breathe deep, act like someone who is ready for whatever comes. When you speak, don't mumble or rush. Pause, let your words land. Act like someone whose voice matters. When you face a decision, don't hesitate like you're afraid to choose. Commit, act like someone who trusts their judgment. At first, it feels unnatural. That's the point. Growth doesn't happen in comfort, but with time the act fades, and what's left is you stronger, steadier, more certain. This is the warrior's way. You don't wait for fear to disappear, you move through it. You don't wait for confidence to arrive, you invite it by acting as if it's already here, and sooner or later it will be the mirror of circumstances. How life tests us. You felt it before, that moment when everything seems to go wrong at once. The traffic light turns red. Just as you approach, the coffee spills right before an important meeting. The email you've been waiting for gets delayed. Most people call this bad luck. But look deeper. These aren't random misfortunes, they're reflection. The world is holding up a mirror showing you exactly what energy you're putting out. When you wake up anxious, notice how the day feels heavier. When you move through life rushed, observe how obstacles multiply. This isn't some mystical punishment, it's simple physics. Like a dancer whose tension makes their partner stiff, your inner state changes. How the world responds to you. The person who snaps at the barista gets sour service. The one who approaches with calm receives patience in return. The pattern holds true in every interaction, every circumstance. Consider water. Pour it into a cup. It becomes the cup. Pour it into a teapot. It becomes the teapot. Your consciousness works the same way. When you pour frustration into your morning, the whole day takes that shape. When you pour presence into a conversation, the interaction transforms. The external world has no choice but to match the quality of attention you give it. This is why two people can experience identical events and walk away with completely different stories. One of hardship, another of growth. The test comes when life doesn't go your way. That's when the mirror is clearest. Do you see setbacks as personal attacks or neutral events? Does a rainy day ruin your mood or simply mean you'll need an umbrella? Your answer reveals everything about where you stand. Warriors understand this. They don't curse the storm for being wet, they adjust their stance and keep moving. The rain doesn't change, but the relationship to it does. Here's how to work with this principle. First, become aware of your emotional weather. Just as a sailor checks the wind before setting sail, check your inner state before engaging with the world. Are you carrying tension from yesterday's argument into today's meeting? That energy will color everything. Second, when recurring problems arise, ask what pattern they might be reflecting. Constant lateness might reveal a fear of being seen. Frequent conflicts could mirror unaddressed anger. The circumstances themselves are neutral. It's your charge. gives them meaning. Most importantly, remember that the mirror works both ways. Just as negativity amplifies problem, steadiness creates space for solutions. When you respond to delays with patience, time seems to expand. When you meet challenges with curiosity, they become puzzles rather than threats. Isn't positive thinking, it's strategic awareness. The world will always reflect back what you project. The question is, what do you want to see? Start small tomorrow morning. Set your energy before leaving home. Stand tall, breathe deep. Decide how you want to feel. Then move through the day as if that's already true. Notice what changes. The rude cashier might suddenly apologize. The missed bus might lead to an unexpected conversation, or nothing external may shift at all, but you'll navigate it differently. That's the real transformation. Not that life stops testing you, but that the tests stop ruling you. The mirror never lies, it simply shows you what you're ready to see. When you don't like the reflection, don't blame the glass. Change what stands before it. The world will follow the 3-second rule to change any situation. Between stimulus and response, there exists a space. In that space lies your power. Most people never find it. They react without thought, like a twig snapping under pressure, but warriors live in that space. 3 seconds is all it takes. 3 seconds to choose who you'll be in any situation. Not 3 minutes, not 3 hours, 3 heartbeats. That's the difference between regret and mastery. Imagine this: someone says something that stinks. The old you would snap back or shrink away, but today you pause 1 second. You feel the heat rise 2 seconds. You notice the urge to react 3 seconds. You ask, how would my song self handle? And just like that, everything changes, not because the insult disappeared, but because you remembered who you are. This rule works because it targets the gap where habits live the bruise. Love's shortcuts. When anger appears, it reaches for familiar patterns. Yelling, suppressing, blaming. The 3-second pause interrupts this automation. It creates just enough friction to break the chain. At first it feels unnatural, like trying to write with your non-dominant hand, but with practice it rewires your instincts from the ground up. Apply it to fear the moment before avoidance. Stop. 1. Acknowledge the discomfort. 2. Feel it without feeding it. 3. Act. Anyway, the fear won't vanish, but its grip will loosen. Each time you do this, you teach your nervous system a new truth. Discomfort isn't danger. You can feel afraid and still move forward. This is how courage builds, not in the absence of fear, but in the repeated choice to meet it with action. Apply it to failure. The project crashes. 1. Let the disappointment land. 2. Notice the stories. I'm not good enough. 3. Ask, what would someone trust the process do next? Maybe they'd analyze what went wrong. Maybe they take a walk and reset. The key isn't the specific action, but the shift from reaction to response. Failure stops being something that happens to you and becomes something you work with. The magic lies in the question itself. Would the strongest version of me act? This isn't about pretending to be someone else. It's about accessing the you that exists beyond momentary emotions. That version is always present, like the sky behind clouds. The 3-second pause simply clears the way. Try it now as something small next time you phone pings with a notification. Don't reach immediately. Count 1. Notice the impulse. 2. Feel the pull. 3. Decide consciously whether to check it. This trains the mental muscle for bigger challenges. The person who masters their attention with trivial things will find it obedient in crucial moments. Eventually, the pause becomes automatic. Insults become opportunities to practice patience. Obstacles become chances to demonstrate resilience. You start to crave difficult situations because they let you test your growth. Where others see problems, you see training ground, not because you're naive, but because you've learned every moment is either a chance to reinforce old patterns or build new ones. 3 seconds is all it takes to choose. The clock is always ticking. The question is, who will you be when it comes? The stoic secret of no bad days. Rain falls on your wedding day. A flight gets cancelled when you're already late. Someone forgets your birthday. The natural reaction is to call these bad, but what if you're wrong? What if nothing is inherently bad? Only your judgment makes it. So this is the fundamental shift that changes everything. Not positive thinking, but clear seeing. Consider the farmer whose crops need rain. To him, a storm is answered prayer. The same storm ruins a tourist's beach day. The event is identical, only the stories differ. This is how most people create their own suffering. They take neutral circumstances and lay a meaning onto them until the weight becomes unbearable. This traffic is ruining my day. No, it's moving metal. You're the one ruining your day with that story. Ancient teachings reveal a powerful truth. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. When you break your leg, the pain signals our biology. The why does this always happen to me? Self-inflicted one is sensation. The other is interpretation. The warrior trains separate. They feel the ache of a wound without adding the poison of resentment. They notice thoughts like this, terrible, and gently return. Try this experiment for 1 week back. Vocabulary: when something unwanted happens, describe only the facts. The milk spoiled rather than this is bad. The meeting ran long. Instead of what a waste, you'll notice 2 things. First, how often you were dramatizing ordinary events. Second, how much lighter life feels when you stop labeling every inconvenience as a catastrophe. This isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about recognizing that your first interpretation isn't truth, it's habit. Child who drops their ice cream experiences genuine disappointment. The adult who rages about it is suffering from something else entirely, the belief that reality should conform to their preferences. Growth lies in distinguishing between genuine hardship and imagined offense. Practice with small things. First, when your coffee order is wrong, notice the impulse to complain then. Pause: is the drink truly undrinkable or simply not what you expected? Can you taste it with curiosity rather than irritation? This micro shift trains the mind for bigger challenges. The person who remains steady when their latte is wrong will find reserves of calm. When real crisis hits, eventually you catch yourself before the labeling begins. The flat tire becomes an exercise in problem solving rather than a bad day. The missed opportunity becomes redirection. Rather than failure, you'll start to see how often bad was just shorthand for unexpected or uncomfortable, and you'll realize nothing was ever against you. You were just reading the map upside down. The deepest peace comes when you stop dividing life into good and bad and simply meet each moment as it is, not because everything is perfect, but because resistance is. Exhausting the tree doesn't curse the wind for bending its branches. It adjusts and grows stronger, so can you. Why most people fail the waiting trap. I'll start when I feel ready. I'll be happy when I have more money. I'll speak up once I'm more confident. These are the lies that keep people stuck. Fundamental misunderstanding that conditions must be perfect before life can begin. But here's the truth. No one tells you readiness doesn't precede action. It follows it. Watch how nature works. The baby bird doesn't wait until it's certain it can fly. It leaps and discovers wings on the way down. The seed doesn't demand perfect soil before sprouting. It pushes upward through cracks and concrete. Somewhere along the way, humans forgot this wisdom. We started believing we needed permission to begin. We confused preparation with procrastination. Consider 2 people learning to swim. One reads every book, watches tutorials, but won't enter the water until they're ready. The other jumps in, swallows some water, but is pedaling within the hour. Who actually learns the same principle applies to every skill, every dream, every aspect of growth. You don't get good first and then start however clumsy. And get good through doing this waiting game is especially dangerous with happiness. So many defer joy until some future condition is met. I'll relax after the project. I'll travel once I retire. But life has a way of expanding to fill whatever space we give it. There will always be another project. Another reason to delay. The people who truly live well aren't those with perfect circumstances. They're the ones who decided happiness was too important to postpone. Confidence works the same backward way. People imagine it will arrive after success, like a reward for achievement. But look at anyone truly great in their field. They didn't wait for assurance before beginning. They acted assured until assurance came. The student afraid to speak in class imagines. Confidence comes from never stumbling. The truth, it comes from surviving stumbles and realizing you're still standing. The solution is simple but uncomfortable. Begin before you're ready, not recklessly, but with the understanding that certainty is an illusion. That business idea starts small tonight. That difficult conversation, have it tomorrow. That creative project, make the first ugly version. Now action generates evidence that changes your belief. Sitting and thinking just generates more thoughts. Try this reframe instead of I'll do it when I feel ready. Ask, what's the smallest step I could take right now? Often you'll find the step is microscopic. Send 1 email, write 1 paragraph, make 1 phone call. These small actions build momentum that makes the next step easier before long. You're not waiting for confidence. You're living it the warrior. This secret, you don't prepare for battle by reading about sword. You prepare by picking one up awkwardly at first. Then with increasing skill, life is no different. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. The perfect moment is the one you decide to begin the body language of invincibility. The body speaks a language older than word. Before you utter a single syllable, your posture has already told the world your story. Slouched shoulders whisper defeat, a lowered head murmurs uncertainty. But when you stand as if the sky rests gently upon your crown, when your chest opens like a warrior facing the wind, the message changes entirely. This isn't vanity. It's the ancient science of prescience now confirms. What masters knew instinctively, the way you hold yourself doesn't just reflect your state, creates it. When you force your body into positions of power, even briefly, your chemistry changes. Stress hormones decrease, testosterone increases, pain tolerance rises. Your nervous system receives the message: we are safe, we are strong, and remarkably the mind believes what the body shows it. This is why traditional training always began with posture, not as empty ritual, but as the foundation of mental state. You'll try this now as you read. Sit or stand fully upright. Imagine a golden thread pulling gently from the base of your spine through the crown of your head. Feel your shoulders rolling back and down, your chest opening. Take 3 deep breaths into your abdomen. Notice any resistance. Where old habits live, the body clings to familiar shapes even when they serve us poorly. Retraining it requires daily repetition, like forming any new skill. The most fascinating transformation occurs in challenging moments. Before a difficult conversation, most people unconsciously shrink, rounding shoulders, lowering chin, making their physical presence smaller. This triggers a cascade of biological reactions that amplify anxiety. But when you consciously reverse this, standing tall, breathing deep, even forcing the slightest smile, something remarkable happens. The situation hasn't changed, but your capacity to handle it has expanded, not through positive thinking, but through physiological alchemy. This principle extends beyond formal challenges. Notice how you hold yourself waiting in line, scrolling your phone, or watching television. These mundane moments accumulate into postural habits that your baseline state. The person who slouches over their device for hours each day trains their nervous system into chronic defensiveness. The one who maintains awareness of their alignment cultivates natural resilience. There's profound wisdom in the old instruction to stand like a mount, not rigid or unmoving, but rooted and unshakable. When you embody this physically, the mind follows your thoughts, become less reactive. Your emotions settle like leaves floating to the ground. Decisions arise from center rather than from chaos. This isn't mystical thinking, it's the simple recognition. Consciousness isn't confined to the brain, it permeates every cell, and every cell responds to how you carry yourself. Begin tomorrow with this practice. Before getting out of bed, stretch fully like a cat. Awaken, feel each vertebra aligning. When you stand, pause for 3 breaths to establish your posture. Throughout the day, set reminders to check in. Is your head drifting forward? Are your shoulders creeping toward your ears? Each correction is a whisper to your nervous system. We are safe. We are capable. Over time, this becomes your natural state, not because circumstances changed, but because you remembered how to occupy your body as the warrior you are. The unfair advantage of delusional confidence. Reality is more malleable than we're taught to believe, not in the sense of denying facts, but in choosing which facts to emphasize. 2 people face identical setbacks. One fixates on every possible thing that could go wrong. The other focuses exclusively on solution. The outcomes diverge, not because of differing circumstances, but because of radically different approaches to the same circumstances. This is the power of strategic focus. What some dismiss as delusion, but what actually represents the highest form of practicality. Consider children learning to walk. They tumble hundreds of times, but never conclude, I'm not a walker. They simply keep standing until standing becomes walking. Somewhere in adulthood, we lose this wisdom. We start requiring evidence before attempting, rather than generating evidence through attempting. The person who waits for proof they can succeed before starting has already lost to the one who Proceeds as if success is inevitable, not from arrogance, but from understanding that belief shapes outcome. History's greatest innovators were often accused of delusion. The Wright brothers wasted time on impossible dreams. Edison foolishly pursued electric light. Their secret wasn't ignorance of obstacles, but selective attention to possibility. They didn't deny reality. They simply chose which aspects of reality to engage with most deeply. This isn't positive thinking, it's strategic thinking. When you focus primarily on solutions, your brain stops registering problems as stop signs and starts seeing them as signposts. The modern world misunderstands confidence. It assumes confidence comes from having all the answers. True confidence comes from trusting your capacity to handle not knowing. Watch any master at work. They're not certain of every step. They're certain of their ability to figure each step out as it comes. This is the delusion that changes everything. The willingness to proceed as if you're capable before you have proof. This approach creates self-fulfilling momentum. When you act as if something will work, you invest more energy. Your persistence attracts opportunity. Your demeanor invites collaboration. What began as a stance becomes reality through consistent action. The delusion wasn't a lie. It was a seed, and like any seed, its truth only reveals itself through growth. Practice this with small things. First, approach a challenging task with the assumption, I'll figure this out. Rather than this might not work, notice how your brain starts spotting possibilities it previously overlooked. When obstacles arise, view them as part of the process rather than signs to quit. This isn't about ignoring difficulties, it's about relating to them differently. The mountain doesn't become smaller, but your capacity to climb it grows eventually. This becomes your default setting, not because life gets easier, but because you've trained your focus like a laser on what moves you forward rather than what holds you back. People may call you unrealistic. Thank them, then continue. History remembers the delusional ones, the ones who saw what others couldn't yet imagine, then made it real through stubborn, consistent action, not by denying reality, but by creating a new one. The 24-hour test. Try this tomorrow morning. When your alarm sounds, you have a choice. You can begin the day. As most do, bracing against whatever might go wrong, preparing defenses against imagined slights and frustrations. Or you can try something different for 24 hours. You conduct an experiment. What if everything happening to you exactly as is happening is precisely what you need in this moment? Not in some vague spiritual sense, but as a practical approach to living. The missed bus isn't an inconvenience that's preventing you from being in the path of some unseen danger. The rude comment from a coworker isn't personal, it's sandpaper, smoothing your rough edges of patience. The sudden change in plans isn't urgent, it's life steering you toward better opportunities. This isn't wishful thinking, it's tactical reinterpretation. And the facts don't change your relationship to them. Thus most people live like amateur sculptors, constantly complaining about their marble. This piece has too many veins, that section is too brittle. Masters understand the material isn't flawed, it's communicating how it needs to be worked. Your daily irritation are no different. They're not obstacles to your peace, they're the very training ground for developing it. The person who can remain centered when plans collapse has gained something far more valuable than any perfect day could offer. Try it now with something small. Notice a minor annoyance from today. Maybe a slow internet connection or a noisy neighbor. Instead of resisting it, lean in slightly. What if this exact situation was tailor-made to develop some quality you lack? Perhaps the slow connection is teaching you to slow down. The noisy neighbor is training your focus. The moment you make this shift, something remarkable happens. The irritation loses its charge, becomes neutral. Just another condition to work with, like rain to a farmer or wind to a sailor. This approach works because it bypasses the usual mental resistance. When you stop arguing with reality, energy formerly wasted on frustration becomes available for creative response. Problems stop being personal and start being interesting. The flat tire becomes a puzzle to solve rather than a personal affront. The delayed flight transforms into unexpected quiet time. None of this requires believing in fate or destiny, just recognizing that since the event has already occurred, your only practical choice is how to relate to it. By day's end, you notice two profound shifts. First, the emotional weight you normally carry will feel light. not because circumstances were magically perfect, but because you stopped adding the extra weight of resistance to each 1-second solutions, and opportunities will appear more ready when you're not fixated on how things should be. You become more attentive to how they are and what can be done with them. The person not complaining about the rain is the one who first notices the rainbow. The true test comes when something genuinely difficult occurs. Real pain here too. The practice holds though in more subtle form. You're not pretending the pain doesn't exist, but asking what might this make possible that wasn't possible before. Perhaps grief deepens your compassion. Maybe failure strips away false pride. The question isn't answered immediately, but in the asking you create space around the pain where growth can occur. Tomorrow will present countless opportunities to practice. The key is to start small and be consistent. Each minor irritation is a chance to strengthen this new mental muscle. Over time, what began as conscious reframing becomes automatic perspective. You'll catch yourself smiling when things go wrong, not from masochism, but from recognizing these are the moments that truly shape you. The perfect days, the easy wins, they make pleasant memory. The challenges forge character. In-game, becoming unbreakable strength isn't measured in what you can lift, but in what you can withstand without breaking. This truth is known in bones before it's understood in mind. Watch how trees weather storms. They don't resist the wind, but bend with it, knowing their roots hold firm. Observe how rivers encounter boulders. They don't stop flowing, but find new paths around. Nature's wisdom reveals the paradox. True resilience comes not from hardness, but from intelligent yielding, combined with unshakable core. Most people misunderstand toughness. They think it means never feeling pain, never showing weakness, never admitting fear. This is brittle strength, the kind that shatters under sufficient pressure. Real resilience operates differently. It allows all experiences to pass through while maintaining fundamental integrity. The warrior feels fear, but acts anyway. The master acknowledges pain, but is defined by it. The sage recognizes weakness, but doesn't identify with it. This is how bamboo survives hurricanes, by bending so completely. It appears defeated only to spring back. When the storm passes, your breaking point isn't fixed, it's determined by daily practice. Each time you face a small discomfort without complaint, your capacity grows. Every instance you meet irritation with patience, your tolerance expands. Like muscles under gradual resistance, your psyche develops through measured challenge. This is why avoiding all discomfort creates fragility. The untested mind, like the unused body, grows weak from lack of exercise. The goal isn't to seek suffering, but to stop fleeing from the inevitable friction of living. The transformation occurs when you realize no external event can break you unless you cooperate with the breaking. Pain is inevitable in life, but surrender is optional. The same fire that melts butter hardens steel. The difference lies in the material, not the flame. When you begin to see challenges as tempering rather than threatening, everything changes. Difficult people become patience. Trainers' obstacles turn into creativity. Coaches' losses transform into wisdom. Guides the circumstances. Don't change your relationship to them. Thus, this isn't about positive thinking, it's about fundamental reorientation. The unbreakable person isn't someone who never falls, but one who knows falling isn't failure, staying down. They understand that all storms pass, all winters end, all nights fade to dawn. Their power comes not from predicting the duration of darkness, but from trusting in light. Inevitable return. This certainty allows them to endure what others cannot, because they know no state is permanent. Start building this capacity in small ways today. When minor pains arise, a headache, a sore muscle, instead of immediately reaching for relief, pause, breathe into the discomfort, observe it. With curiosity rather than resistance, you're not seeking martyrdom, but developing familiarity with sensations separate from suffering. This micro practice prepares you for larger challenges. The person who can sit with a stub toe without mental trauma is training to handle real crises with composure. Ultimately, becoming unbreakable means recognizing that what you truly are cannot be damaged. Your body will age, your circumstances will shift, your relationships will change, but the awareness that observes all this, that essential presence, remains untouched. The more you identify with awareness rather than with passing experiences, the more resilient you become. Not because you're armored against life, but because you've realized you're not what life happens to you, what's observing it. All this is the warrior's final understanding. There's nothing to break because the truth cannot be broken. Everything else is just weather passing through. Stand firm in that knowing, and no storm can move you. Not because the storm lacks power, but because you've become the calm at its scent. So here's the choice: keep reacting to life like it's happening to you, or start acting like happening for you. You don't need more luck. You don't need perfect timing. You just need to act like you're already who you want to become. The deepest truth of life is that at the core of your being, there is something untouched. This essential presence remains whole no matter what you go through, no matter what storms come, and no matter how chaotic the world feels. Most people spend their lives identifying with their passing thoughts, emotions, and circumstances, forgetting that these are temporary movements like clouds drifting through the sky. But the sky itself is never harmed by the storm. The same is true for you. The more you anchor yourself in this awareness, the one that is watching thoughts come and go, the one witnessing joy, pain, fear, and triumph, the more resilient you become. Resilience is not about building walls so that nothing can touch you. It's not about pretending you're invincible. Real resilience comes from knowing that you are not what happens to you. You are the one who sees it all, the one who experiences but is not defined by the experience. Life may throw its storms at you, but storms only move through, they never destroy the sky. When you begin to live from this knowing, you stop fearing the inevitable challenges. You no longer fight to avoid pain, disappointment, or failure, because you see that none of these things touch the truth of who you are. This is the warrior's final understanding. There is nothing in you that can be truly broken. What breaks are the illusions, your ideas about how life should be, your attachments to outcomes, your expectations of control. What remains unbroken is your essence, your awareness, your true self. Everything else is just whether sunshine or storm, calm or chaos passing through the vast field of your being. Stand in this truth, and no storm can truly move you. The storm does not lose its power, but you gain a deeper strength, the power of presence, the calm at the center. This understanding gives you a choice. You can continue to live as though life is happening to you, reacting to every event like a victim of circumstances. Or you can shift into the awareness that life is happening for you. Each challenge, each obstacle, each joy, and each loss is shaping you, refining you, teaching you, preparing you. The difference is everything. One path keeps you stuck in fear and resistance. The other path opens the door to growth, freedom, and peace. You don't need more luck. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need everything outside of you to line up before you step into who you are meant to be. What you need is the courage to act from that deeper knowing right now, to carry yourself as though you are already the person you want to become, to stop waiting for permission, for guarantees, or for the right moment. The warrior's path is not about waiting, it's about being rooted in presence, being unshaken in storms, being who you already are, fully, without apology. When you live like that, life no longer feels like a battle. You must survive it, becomes the very canvas on which your true self shines.